Okay, follow along with me as we complete this sheet together. We're in the geometry unit. This is student handout number 5, measurement and area. Mr. Thompson's class is creating a replica of a baseball park. Use a ruler to measure the dimensions of each figure included in the replica. Then choose the appropriate formula and solve for the area of the figure. All right. So task 1, we are dealing with a triangle. Okay, so let's look and see what all we need to do. It says the replica baseball pennant is shown on the left. Measure the figure to the nearest ½ inch. How many square inches of fabric will be used to create the replica? Okay, I would like you to remember from the other day when we were doing triangles, it's really important to remember that you have a base and you have a height, and the height is perpendicular to the base. So they may label a side, but if it's not the height, if it's not perpendicular to the base, you don't use it. So in this particular illustration, we've got a triangle. If we turn it this way, here is our base, and our height is going to be this height hitting the base perpendicularly. So we're going to have to draw that in. All right, so I've done my best to put my ruler in here so that I can draw the height. Remember, the height is going to be perpendicular to the base. So here's my base, here's my height, and I need to go back and measure. And we're going to just go to the nearest ½ inch. So here's 3, here's 3.5. So that's going to be pretty much 3.5 inches is the height. And we're going to measure the base also, again, to the nearest ½ inch. So here's 1 inch, here's 2 inches, here's 2.5. It's pretty close to 2.5. So our base is going to be 2.5 inches. All right, so now we need to find a formula. Going back through your notes and your examples, the formula for the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Okay, so I'm going to plug in my numbers that I have. Area of that triangle is going to be the base, which is 2.5 inches, times the height, which is 3.5 inches. All of that divided by 2. Okay, so let's go over here and work some math. 5 times 5 is 25. You put down the 5, carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, so 2.5 times 3.5 is going to give us 8.75. I have 2 digits behind decimals in the problem, so 2 digits behind the decimal in the answer. That's going to be 8.75, but I have not divided by the 2 yet, so I've got to do that still. And let's see, I'm going to come up here. 8.75 divided by 2. 2 will go into 8 4 times. 8 times 8 minus 8 is 0. Bring down the 7. 2 will go into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Ooh, I'm going to move over here. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down the 5. 2 will go into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. I have 1 left over. Remember, I'm really working over here, but I'm out of room. I can put a 0 and bring it down. So bring down that 0 to here. 2 will go into 10 5 times. So the area is half of 8.75, which is 4.375 inches times inches. So this is going to be square inches. Okay. And this says, if the fabric costs 25 cents per square inch, how much will it cost to create 5 replica pennants? Okay, so let's figure out the amount that you're going to spend on one replica pennant, and then we'll figure out for 5. 4.375. Tell you what, I'm going to reverse course. I'm going to say, here's the area for 1 pennant. What's going to be the area for 5 pennants? So we'll do that first, and then we'll multiply it by the 25 cents. 5 times 5 is 5 times 3 is 15, 18, 20. Okay, and I have 1, 2, 3 places behind the decimal. I have 21.875 total square inches. And each square inch is going to cost me 25 cents. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, you know what, that's basically 22 square inches. So I'm going to say 22 square inches times 0.25. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Placeholder 0. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 2 is 4. I have 2 digits behind decimals in the problem, so 2 digits behind decimals in the answer. And it's going to cost you about $5.50 to make 5 pennants. Okay, remember, I took the area for 1 pennant, multiplied it by 5 because I was making 5 pennants. And then that's basically 22 square inches. So I took 22 square inches times 25 cents per square inch, and I wind up with $5.50. All right, so next shape. In the bullpen, there is a pitching net. Use a ruler to measure the dimensions to the nearest half inch. How many square inches of netting make up the replica net? All right, so let's figure that out. First of all, looking at our shape, we can determine that that is a trapezoid. And remember that the formula for a trapezoid, area of a trapezoid, is base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. Okay, and you might be like, no, Miss Goff, it's base 1 plus base 2 times height times a half. Well, times a half and dividing by 2 is the exact same thing. All right, before we can plug in values, we've got to do some measuring. So let's get out our ruler again. And remember, we're going to measure to the nearest half inch. So our base down here, ooh, I don't like that. This is 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5. I guess I'm going to call that 3. It says to measure to the nearest half inch, so I guess it's going to be 3. 3 inches is that base. Okay, up here to the nearest half inch, this is going to be 1.5 inches. Again, it's not quite at a half inch, but we're measuring to the nearest half inch. Okay, then I need to do my perpendicular line. Because remember, height, just like with a triangle, the height has to be the perpendicular. For instance, I'm not going to measure this side. I'm going to do the height. So there's 1 inch. There's 1.5. It's pretty close to 2. We'll call it 2 inches. Okay. All right. Here we go. Plug in the values. Base 1, 1.5, plus base 2, which is 3, times 2, which is the height, divided by 2, which is part of the formula. This 2, multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2, those pretty much just cancel out. So 1.5 plus 3 is 4.5. The area is 4.5 square inches. Smiley face. Sorry about that. Okay, so there we go. 1.5 plus 3, those are the sum of our two bases. I'd multiply that by 2, but then I'm also going to divide it by 2, so just cancel those out, and you get 4.5 inches.